Hi, everyone, and welcome to another part of our New and Now series for our product updates for July 2023. So excited to have you guys here. If you haven't seen me before, my name is Alexis Eaglin, and I'm a HubSpot certified trainer here on the Simple Strat team. In this New and Now series, we are covering all of the newest updates released from HubSpot that we are most excited about, and some really cool examples and use cases that are going to help you get some real results. So we'll be hosting these webinars every month. Be sure you stay connected with us so that way you don't miss out on those future events. So first, we are going to review the biggest updates, things that are really going to help you level up your HubSpot portal. So that's going to include a pretty cool new way to run some lists that's going to be powerful, and also some new automation triggers you may have seen if you've built any workflows recently. And then the long-awaited SMS messaging update. I can't tell you how many times clients have asked me, when can we have text messaging? So I know you guys are going to get super excited when we get to that. So after we cover all those big ones, we'll touch on some smaller ones that you may have missed, but they're still really good, still really important things that we want to make sure you guys know about. So that includes searchable notes and logging some emails retroactively, which is also another one I hear a lot. So I'm sure you guys will be excited to see those as well. So as we're going, just be sure to drop any of your questions that you have in that Q&A section, and we will answer those at the end. And if you aren't familiar with Simple Strat, if this is your first time joining in, we're excited to have you here. We are a diamond level solutions partner that helps you get more out of HubSpot. So we offer a ton of different ways that we can help out, whether that's free support assistance when you're looking to purchase HubSpot or even just trying to upgrade. And then we also help our clients by doing audits to fix their portal and looking for any issues, as well as just kind of ongoing support and implementing the new features that we're covering today, and just making sure everything is running smoothly on a regular basis. And then lastly, just like a ton of educational content. So things like these webinars to keep you updated on HubSpot's updates, as well as anything that we post on our HubSpot Hacks YouTube channel. So I think I've talked enough. I'm going to kick things over to our host, Tyler Samani-Sprunk, so we can dive into these updates.
Awesome. Thank you, Alexis. Really excited to jump in here. There are a lot of updates that came out in July, and this month was a little bit hard to put together the deck because a lot of the updates are big UI changes, but figuring out, does this actually give me new capabilities in my HubSpot portal, or is it just changing the way I've done things before? Figuring that out. Hopefully I figured that out for you and can share, which pieces of the updates that came out last month are actually new, and which pieces might just be some changes to things that you've already been able to do or are used to doing. So really excited to dig into those, as well as Alexis teased out some of those big ones. So SMS messaging, that's going to be huge for a lot of people I know. And then also, being able to retroactively log those emails. So we have a lot of updates. I know those are going to be ones that you're really excited for, but we will jump into some of these first ones here. So before we talk about the updates, just in case you're new to these webinars, I want to speak for just a second on what you're going to see on our slides here. So this is going to be kind of the standard slide format when we're talking about a new update. So what you're going to see on the left-hand side is the name of the update. So if you're going to look for enrolling in betas or something like that, we try to keep the names on the slides the exact same way the HubSpot talks about them, so they're easy to find. And then we also are going to talk about kind of where we're at with that update. So whether that's in public beta, just something you have to go and enroll in, or if it's live, already available to you in your portal. Just a quick note on the live ones, some of them are phased rollouts. So if you don't have a live one yet, then you should in the coming days. And then after that, the hub. So this example is available in CMS and marketing hubs, and then the tier of that hub. So free, starter, professional, and enterprise. So this first one here is the new CTAs in marketing email. So if you've been attending a few of these webinars, you may have seen us talk about the new CTA tools that's available in HubSpot. If not, maybe you've seen them in your portal. The update here is the ability to put it in your emails. And so the big deal here is that you used to be able to put the legacy CTAs, you could put them in your email, but it would always render as an image. So it was a little bit slower to load. It might have been fuzzy in the email. Now it renders just as HTML. It's also going to be tracked in the same place that your other new CTAs are. just want to clarify that it is only for the button type of CTAs as well as the image type. So if you want it to be an image, you can use the image type as well. It won't work for like pop-up CTAs and things like that for probably pretty obvious reasons. So there are a couple great use cases for using the new CTA buttons in emails that weren't available to you necessarily with the legacy one. And the first one is going to be able to track your button performance across assets. So you might be thinking, well, I've been able to add a button to an email for a long time. Why would I add a button CTA rather than just a button from a button module? And this is why. So if you've got a CTA that you want to put in multiple emails, or you want to put it on an email and a blog post and a landing page, and you want to track how that CTA is performing, or maybe you're doing some A/B testing with that CTA, you can aggregate all of that performance across those assets by including a CTA button instead of just a regular button. And so the way that would work is that you create a button CTA in the new CTAs tool. Now, if you go to HubSpot, it's just the CTAs tool. You have to actually actively go to the legacy tool. So you should be in the right place if you go to the CTA tool in the marketing drop down there for an offer that you want to place across those multiple assets. Add that CTA to any, your marketing email, your marketing emails, if you've got multiple emails, and then any other assets that you would like to place that button. And then you'll be able to see the aggregate performance, how that CTA is performing across all of those assets in the CTA Analyze tab, like what you see here, as well as if you've got that CTA added to any campaigns for reporting or custom reports around your CTAs. And then I've got a bonus use case for these new CTAs as well. This is a use case that isn't specific to email. It's actually for blog posts. But it's one we didn't cover when we first started talking about the new CTAs tool. And what we're talking about here, and kind of the reason I had this idea was considering, rendering those button CTAs in the emails as HTML rather than images. Got to thinking, images was kind of all that was in the legacy CTAs tool. If you wanted to add a call to action to a blog post, to promote, a piece of content or, a demo call or anything like that. How we did it is we created an image and you uploaded that image into the CTAs tool. And then that rendered as an image in the blog post. With the new CTAs tool, you can actually kind of design, so you can add text and multiple images and a form or whatever you want to add to the CTA. So you can kind of build it in HubSpot. And then HubSpot's going to render that as HTML on your blog post rather than as an image. And so we're recommending that anybody that was using the legacy CTAs tool in this way, which a lot of people were, if you were using gated content to generate leads from your blog posts, we recommend that you actually replace those image-based CTAs with the new CTAs that you build inside of HubSpot. And a few reasons to do that. So the first one, and this is the big one, is automatic responsiveness for mobile devices. So if you think about, an image CTA, a lot of times those were designed for desktops. And so, they might have been a little bit wider. And what would happen is if you looked at it on a mobile device, that would shrink and then the text would be super small and just wasn't doing the same thing that you really wanted it to do. So there was a workaround for that. So for us, the legacy CTAs tool, we use smart CTAs and we say, show this one if they're on a mobile device, show this one if we're on a desktop device. Got really cumbersome for us to create CTAs. Now, if we create them inside of HubSpot, it is automatically responsive, does that stacking for us, and has that all taken care of. Also, faster page speeds, so it doesn't have to load an image, just loads the HTML, which typically loads much faster, so you can expect faster page speeds. And depending on how you had that image designed, you may have seen like fuzzy text or things like that in your image-based CTAs. And now, since it's just rendered as text, you don't have to worry about that either. So the way that you would do it is you would just recreate your old CTAs in the new CTA tool with the embedded type. So when you go to create a new CTA in that tool, there's a bunch of different types. One of those is embedded. You want to select that embedded type and then simply recreate the ones that you already had. Should be able to get them to look very similar. And then you just swap out the old CTAs with the new ones. So if you're somebody that uses CTAs on your blog posts a lot, I'd go back and look, are we using image-based CTAs? How do they look on mobile? Are they affecting our page speed? Depending on the answers to those questions, I highly recommend looking at swapping them out with the new tool. All right, next one, deal lists. So for my sales managers, salespeople, I think this is going to be a big update, but it's one of those updates that at first I was like, that's that's kind of cool, but can I already do this with saved views? Can I already filter my deals and see what I'm seeing that I would be able to see in deal lists? No, there are a couple new use cases which I'm going to share. Before we get into that, this one is a public beta, so you do have to enroll in that. But it is available to all hubs, all tiers. So if you're using deals across any portal and level in HubSpot, you can see this. And when we go to contacts and lists, you'll be able to select a deal-based list, just like what you're seeing on the screen. So what can you do with deal lists that you couldn't see or you couldn't do with saved views on the normal deals screen before? So the first one is you can group deals by associated records. And I think this is going to be the really big thing with deal lists, the thing that really unlocks a lot of capabilities. And so when we create a saved view of deals, the only way we could filter on were deal properties, right? We couldn't say, show me all the deals that are associated to records that have this. Now we can, and that's what this is really unlocking for us. So a couple examples of things you might be able to, or might want to do. There's a ton, but I've listed a few here. So the first one is if you're using the target accounts tool, the ABM tools inside of HubSpot, and you're labeling companies as target accounts, you might want to see, show me all of the deals that are associated with our target accounts, right? That's a great use case. Got these target accounts, show me the deals associated with them. We can do that now. All the deals that include a specific product. So there wasn't really a way to do that before because products didn't live in a property in deals. So couldn't do a saved view, but it is an associated object to those deals. So we can do that. All deals associated with contacts on a list of webinar or event attendees. So if you do a lot of event-based marketing and you want to say, okay, I've got all of these people that attended my event last month. If I created any deals, or show me all the deals associated with those people. All deals associated with the contacts of a certain type. So maybe you've got a drop down for different types of contacts. You want to see just deals associated with, all the contacts of type A, then you can do that as well. And then all deals with a certain activity track. So activities are also associated objects. So, maybe you've got meeting types that you're using to track all of your meetings. And I want to see all of the deals where we've had a demo meeting. So that can be a great use case there. And so what you're seeing on the screen here for the image is kind of how that works. So when you go to create a list and you create your filters, you can see current object deal properties. You can still filter based on all those things. And that's kind of where the saved views stopped. But now we've got all these associated objects that we can do. The filter we have built out here in that image is the top use case here, which is show me all of those deals that are associated with those target accounts. Now, one of the things you might be thinking is, okay, awesome. This is cool. I get it. But I really like that board view of deals. Having a list of deals doesn't really do it for me. I need to see, what stage they're at. So the good news is that, I skipped one. You can also see all deals with an open invoice. So any of those deals that haven't been paid, got ahead of myself. So the good news is that we can actually skip it all over the place here. I'll go back. So the good news is that you can actually see all of this in our board view. So the way that you do that is you would go to advanced filters in your board view and you select list membership as your deal property, and then you pick your list, and then you can see all the deals that are in that list and they'll be in our board view. So I'll go back to the one that I skipped. The other thing that's great here that you can do is more advanced date filtering. So you might be familiar with this, the difference between a saved view for contacts and a list for contacts. This is one of those differences for all of those objects. But I think it's gonna be big for deals as well. So you've got two images here. The image in kind of the middle or the left-hand side of the screen is some of your date options that you have in lists. And the one on the right is some of the date options you have in saved views. So you have everything that you have in saved views, you have in lists, but you also have some more advanced ones. So is this date property after another date property? Is it before another date property? When was the last updated? So we can do things like show me all the deals where the close date has been changed in the last month. So if you're worried about salespeople kind of pushing deals often, pushing them forward, and you want to at least have a view of all those deals that may have gotten pushed forward or that close date's changed, we can do that. We can also say, show me all the deals where the next activity is scheduled for after the close date. Obviously, that's something that the salesperson might want to address. Either by adjusting that close date or moving that next activity up. And there might be custom date properties that you track that you want to be able to kind of reference between each other and create lists there as well. So that advanced date filtering, if you're using dates on your deals, which I hope you are, great way to kind of be able to create lists with more insight from those properties. The next one. So this is for my marketing operations folks, my people that love UTM codes. So filtering page views by UTM parameters in lists. So if you are one of those people, you may know that you used to be able to, page view is a criteria that we can use to create contact lists. So show me all the contacts that have viewed this page. We can refine that and say, show me all the contacts that have viewed this page 5 times or in the last 30 days. But if we pasted a URL in there in the past that had a UTM code, that UTM code was just ignored. HubSpot just pretended like it wasn't there. Anybody that visited the page would still get on this list. And that's the change, is now we can specify specific UTM parameters and say, only put the people on this list that have visited this page that have these UTM parameters. And so why is that important for us? There's a lot of custom use cases that you might want to track people coming in from a specific UTM parameter. But a few ways that are kind of more common or might apply to more people. The first one is retargeting campaigns. So if you want to create, you've got a Google ad or a LinkedIn ad, and you want to create a list of all the people that have viewed a page from that ad, and then you want to use that list for retargeting campaigns using the HubSpot ads tool. Now that's much easier because all you have to do is page view, add the UTM parameters that are associated with that ad, and then you've got that list that you can use for retargeting. You can also use channel optimized follow-up. So you might want to follow up with a list of contacts in a different way, depending on what channel they came to us in. So if they came to us through Facebook or LinkedIn, maybe you want to follow up with them with a LinkedIn message, for example. So we keep that context and we follow up with them in the channel that they're most likely to respond with. Similarly, content optimized follow-up. So maybe everybody that viewed this version of the ad with this kind of core headline or message, we want to have our follow-up email contain the same type of message. So we can do those kind of content or context optimized follow-ups as well, based on knowing where they came from to view that page. And we can also track who viewed a page from an event. So if you are somebody that does a lot of event marketing, your trade show, maybe you've got a QR code up and you want to create a list of everybody who viewed your website or a specific page on your website after scanning that QR code. Now it's very easy to do that. We just add the QR code to the URL that's associated with that QR code, and then add the UTM parameter to the URL associated with that QR code, and then we can create a list based on that. All right, trigger workflows with events is another one of those updates that it's like, okay, couldn't I do a lot of this before? What's actually new here? So the first thing the thing that's actually new is a pretty big UI change in HubSpot when you go to create a new workflow. So when you created a workflow before, all of the triggers that you could start that workflow on were really related to HubSpot properties. So for example, if you wanted to create, trigger a workflow anytime a property changed, you would say, anytime this property is known, we can trigger this workflow, right? Which wasn't super intuitive. So that's going to be kind of the first nice thing about this update, is creating those workflows is a lot more intuitive, because now we can say when an event occurs. So in that example, we can say when this property changes rather than when this is known, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And if you've never used HubSpot before, you're probably like, what are you even talking about? And we can also, it also added a whole bunch of new events. And so we've got some new capabilities here. And also for those events that you used to be able to trigger workflows on. So for example, you could trigger workflows when somebody, viewed a form or something like that, or interacted with something that was associated with it. A lot of those kind of more complex events, we could trigger workflows on it, but we couldn't set up re-enrollment based on that. So re-enrollment wasn't available for those triggers. There's a lot more re-enrollment capabilities. So if I want to trigger a workflow every time somebody does this, they might do it multiple times. We have a lot more options for triggering re-enrollment. So let's get into some specific use cases. Abandoned forms is a big one. So what we would do here is we would set a workflow trigger to a form view event. So that's one of the events that's added to our new workflow triggers. We do event-based, we do a form view event. We select the title of the form that we want to specialize this on, and then we refine it by form submission. So just like this image shows here, anytime they view our webinar registration form, but they haven't submitted the webinar registration form. So then we add a delay to that. So give them some time to submit it, maybe 5-10 minutes, whatever you want to add there. And then we add a re-engagement action. So maybe we want to follow up with an email. This is similar to abandoned cart workflows, if you are familiar with that in the e-commerce world, but we can do that with our forms as well. Another one would be automated voicemail follow-up. So, call ended is another event type trigger that we didn't have access to before. So we set the workflow trigger to that call ended event, and we refine it by the call outcome is we left a voicemail. So whenever you log a call on HubSpot, you can select the outcome. Left a voicemail is a common one. So I called this person, I've marked that I left a voicemail, and I know I should follow up with them, but maybe I don't have time as a salesperson to follow up with all those people via email. So we can use workflow to do that. So we add a delay, and then we add an email that says, it has to be fairly automated or fairly generic because it is automated. You could also enroll them in a sequence if you have Sales Hub Enterprise, which gives you the ability to enroll people in sequences from a workflow. So those are just two examples. And then this next example is a little bit more complex. This would be more for people that have a web app or a custom app that people are interacting with. But the new thing here is that we can trigger workflows based on custom behavioral events. So if you're not familiar with custom behavioral events, it allows us to do things like, when somebody logs into my app or when somebody interacts with my app in this way, log that activity to HubSpot. Now we can actually trigger workflows based on that, which is huge for the people that are using it. It is a marketing enterprise only feature. So if you're not on enterprise and like, what are these custom behavioral events? Don't worry about it. Unless you really need them, then maybe consider an upgrade. And we can trigger them based on those events like activity. Campaign templates. So campaign templates aren't brand new in HubSpot, but if you tried to go with one of HubSpot's created templates in the past, you had two options. Now they've added 10 more, so you have 12 options in total. It is live to everybody in Marketing Hub. These are the 12 on the screen here. So everything from abandoned cart to re-engagement, nurturing, in-person event promotion. So all of these are their own use cases. I'll show you one that I like because it has a lot of steps built out for you already. And that's the in-person event promotion. So this is what a campaign template looks like. It essentially helps people on your team that are creating their campaigns know what they need to do. So it's kind of like a little project management tool, and also gives them kind of a checklist of the assets that they should add to the campaign for that campaign to track those assets' performance and give you the kind of holistic reporting that the campaign tool in HubSpot is great for. So this is an example. This isn't all the steps, but create a registration form, build your landing page, promote your event with an email. And each of these has a little description with some more information. You've got a button on here to add the asset to it. So it's a great starting place to kind of get your campaigns up and running quickly and allow your team to do that much more easily. The other great way to use these new templates from HubSpot is as a starting place for custom templates. So in this example here, what we've done is you can add custom steps. So the templates have those steps already pre-built for you, but maybe your process requires an additional step or a different step, or you want to give them custom instructions for a step. So we can add or customize those steps. And then in the top right-hand corner, you've got the option to save that as a template. So you can save that as your own custom template. You don't have to just stop with HubSpot's, but they can be a great starting place for you to create your own custom templates for your team to use. Standalone modules in the template marketplace. So this is in its infancy. You'll see on the screen here, 32 results. So they don't have a ton of modules yet, but I think this is going to be something that we're going to see massive growth on in the next couple of years. And so what this is if you're familiar with WordPress websites, you're probably familiar with plugins, right? That's one of the great things about WordPress. It's one of the reasons why so many people have WordPress websites, is because pretty much anything you want to do on your WordPress website, add to your WordPress website, there's a good chance you can go out, find a plugin and just drop it on a page and it's working for you, right? HubSpot until now didn't really have that capability. There's a lot of things that you had to go get custom developed, or you had to go find a full theme when you only really needed one module out of that or one piece of functionality out of that. And so that's the change here, is we can now add standalone modules in that template marketplace. So when we go to the template marketplace, you'll still see themes, but you'll also see all of these standalone modules, which you can basically think of as plugins as it works for WordPress. So this is brand new. We haven't, full disclosure, I haven't downloaded any of these. So the examples I'm going to show you are just kind of to get the wheels turning on things that are capable or things that are available in the template marketplace. But like I said, I think you'll be able to see a lot more as more developers add to it. And this has really only been out for a couple weeks here. So, one example, animated statistics. So this is a still image. You can't really see the animation, but, when you load this page, the 750, 300, 100, we're going to count up. We've seen that on a lot of web pages. So you can add this, have your statistics in there, and it counts up for you. Another one is an event calendar. So, this would be something that would be fairly difficult to code from scratch in HubSpot, or you'd have to embed like a Google Calendar, and it might not look very nice or might not be responsive. Now we can add an event calendar. I keep wanting to say plugin, an event calendar module from the template asset marketplace, and you'd be able to just load that in the settings of the module and show all of those events you have coming up. Interactive calculator. So maybe you've got a pricing calculator, or this example is a mortgage payment calculator, something to drive more engagement and make your website a little bit more valuable for people to interact with. We could add that. And again, this would be something that would take quite a bit to have a developer custom code for you. Now we can just add this module from the marketplace and be off and running. Reporting on call objects. This is another one for my sales folks, my sales managers. So calls have been, fairly new in HubSpot. Last few years, calling has really picked up, and the reporting on them is kind of lagged. So you've been able to do some in the custom report builder, and there's been some pre-built reports, but it's been kind of hard to create simple reports to give you really in-depth analytics about your calls. And so what the change here is in our single object reports, which is the easiest reports to create in HubSpot. We don't have to be thinking about, the associations between our data, and that can get pretty complex in a custom report builder. It's also available for more people. So our single object report allows the calls object to be reported in it now. That's the change. So how would we use that? So one way is to get our number of calls by outcome. You could also do this by call type if you're tracking call type. So this would be great for things like, are people adding a call type the way they should be? In this example, no, we've got 336 that don't have a value. So this would be a team to talk to. I wonder which team it is about doing, starting to record our outcomes from those calls. So we create a single object report, select call. You can add call outcome or call a meeting type. So if you track different types of calls, maybe you track outbound calls or cold calls versus an inbound lead follow-up, or outbound calls versus inbound calls. We can do that as well. Change the visualization to a bar graph, add call outcome to the displaying tab, and count of calls to the measured by, and then we update the filters. So, whatever date range you want to look at, and then this is your result. So similar report, but different insights would be, show me the average length of a call by the outcome or call type. So in this example, when we connect, we talk to them for an average of 18 minutes. When we leave a voicemail, we're on the phone for an average of 51 seconds. So this is great for if you're trying to optimize the call volume that your team is going through, or maybe the opposite. Maybe you're worried that people are rushing through calls too quickly. This would give you some insights into that. So again, you're going to create a single object report and select call as the type. You're going to add call duration and call outcome, and at the data step of that report creation, change the visualization to a bar graph, and then change the call outcome or type to the displaying, and add call duration to the measured by on that visualization tab. And then on this one, it's gonna what it's going to do by default is it's going to give you the total time. So all of the time you spent on those connected calls, all of the time you spent on left voicemail. So you'll see total. There'll be a drop down. You can just change that to average, which is probably what you'll want to see. And then we update our filters just as before, so we can do, show me last year, show me all the time, show me this month, whatever you want to do there. All right, the big one, drum roll, SMS marketing. So this has been in private beta for a couple months. So I've talked to a couple clients that have used it, but the big update in this just came out yesterday. So it is brand new to me as well, and it is a true beta. It is in its early stages. So we'll talk about what's available and what's not available. It's in beta. It does require you to be on Marketing Hub Professional Enterprise, and even the beta version does require you to purchase an add-on. So if this is something you're interested in, you do need to purchase an add-on, and the process is you'll enroll in the beta, purchase the add-on. Once you enroll in the beta, under the marketing dropdown, you'll see SMS as an option. There's a button there to talk to sales. That's gonna be the easiest way to purchase the add-on and start the enrollment process. you do need to sign up for a phone number, and it can take a couple weeks to get that phone number. So if this is something that is really pressing for you, I'd say start now, because it does take a little while to get everything going and get set up. So a couple disclaimers here with this beta. It is a bulk SMS tool. So if you're looking for a tool where, I've got one contact that I just want to send a personalized message to, this is not that tool yet. I do think we'll see a lot more SMS tools being rolled out natively in HubSpot. But as of now, this is a bulk tool. So think of this as a texting newsletter. If I've got a list of contacts and I want to send them all the same message, I can still personalize by first name and things like that, but basically all the same message to that full list. That's what this tool is for. It is a beta, so it is missing some features. There's no automation capabilities yet, no MMS, so it's just simple text, no reply management, and it doesn't connect to your conversations inbox. So it is basically the way that I'm thinking about this is if you right now have an active SMS marketing strategy where you're sending a lot of messages, managing replies, using it to drive engagement, this tool isn't ready yet for you to switch to it. If you're brand new to SMS, you've never done it before and you'd like to get your feet wet, this is a great way to do that in the same portal you're used to, all the reporting that's available in HubSpot, all that intuitiveness that we love about the platform. So a couple of use cases for this, and I'm going to put them all just on one slide here. So first, I would recommend using this only for valuable announcements and following a couple best practices. So I would use it sparingly and only to share true value, right? Since we can't manage replies and we can't do super personalized messages, this isn't quite an engagement tool yet. Think of this as an announcement tool. And then make sure you're getting explicit consent. I don't know about you. I know that I have an Android phone. It does excellent at getting spam messages out of my inbox. I never even see them. I also know people that are just blown away by how many text messages they get that are spam. So don't burn that bridge right when you start to cross it and then start sending them a bunch of junk they don't want. Make sure they've requested messages from you and make sure those messages are valuable. And then get your phone numbers in order now. This is kind of twofold. One is getting the phone number from HubSpot, but probably more importantly, if this is a strategy that you are going to deploy, my guess is that some of the earlier leads in your CRM, you may not have paid a ton of attention to the data quality around your phone number fields. So they might be misformatted. They might be, full of junk. Get those formatted correctly. Make sure those are, add them to forms if so you're getting the information, or sign up for a lead enrichment service like ZoomInfo. Make sure that you are getting those phone numbers in place and that they're formatted correctly. Ops Hub can help with that formatting piece. The tool will accept a lot of different formats, but you just want to make sure that if this is going to be a strategy that you're paying attention to, then you're going to want to pay attention to the data in that phone number field just the same way that you do to your emails today. Now, use cases, things that I think you could use this tool for today and get value out of it for your business. A new piece of content they'd be interested in. So I wouldn't send this probably for every blog post, but maybe you got a new research report or a new white paper they'd be interested in. As long as they've opted into text messages, this could be a good way to share that and to get some engagement with that. A new promotion. So maybe you are more kind of promotion or sales driven. Maybe you've got a Labor Day sale coming up that you want to promote. Again, sparingly, make sure it's a good sale, all those good things. But we've all probably gotten those texts. We've probably gotten those texts from people that we were excited about knowing that there was a sale from. And probably gotten those texts from people that's like, why? I don't care that there's a sale on this. I would never buy this. So that's your difference between opt-in and opt-out, or opt-in and not opt-in. Message booth number and invitation to trade show attendees. So maybe you've got a good list of people that you know are going to a trade show because you did a survey, or maybe you built that list of people that were going, and maybe you didn't know your booth number until a couple of days before. So the day of the trade show, maybe you text them that morning and invite them to stop by your booth. Or maybe you've got a podcast or a video series and a new episode drops. Again, they should be opted in to receive those communications, but there might be some fans of your podcast or fans of your video series that would really love a text every time you drop a new episode. So this would be another way to use that tool. So there are more. Obviously, this isn't a full exhaustive list, but I think these are the types of information that I would be considering using for the tool as it stands today. And again, I think we'll see a lot more functionality, a lot more use cases grow out of this as it comes out of beta and as they start adding more SMS capabilities, which I haven't been told they will, but I do expect that they will. All right. our small but mighty updates. So this is your first time at one of these webinars. These are those updates where the use cases are very straightforward, so we don't need to spend time talking about the use cases, but they're important updates for how you use the tool and getting more capabilities out of the tool. And there are some big ones that I think are going to deliver a lot of value to people this month. So first one, Instagram Reels support. So if you are using Instagram and you're using Reels, or you want to start dabbling in Reels and you're using HubSpot's social media tool, you can now post Reels directly from the social media tool. It is a public beta and it does require a marketing hub, just like the rest of their social tools. But it is a great way to add some different types of content to your Instagram. So you create it the same way that you would create any other social post. The only difference is you've got this publish as option here. You select Reel, and then you'll see below you can also toggle a switch to share it to your feed as well as your Reels. Working hours and custom voicemail for inbound calls. So HubSpot now has inbound calling capabilities. That's a relatively new feature in HubSpot. It's been fairly limited. They're starting to add more features to it and make it a more robust tool. So these are two features that they've added in the last month. So the first one is each rep can add their working hours so that they don't get kind of routed inbound calls outside of those working hours. They can set that by day. This is going to be a very similar experience to when you set your availability in the meetings tool, if you're familiar with that. And reps can also now set a personalized voicemail. So, and they can set two different ones. So they can set one that is during working hours. So, sorry, I missed you. I'll give you a call back in, a couple minutes, hours, whatever. And then one outside of working hours so that you can manage expectations there. If they call you in the middle of the night, they aren't going to expect to call me until the next day or the next business day. So you can do two different voicemails there. The rep can, have something personalized, use their name. We know that increasingly with sales, authenticity and that human connection, it's always been important, but I would argue it's more important now than ever. And so the ability to have the rep's voice and their kind of authentic message and their name in that voicemail, I think is going to be really powerful for those inbound calls as you develop that as a channel. Finding notes by searching note content. So this is probably one that a lot of people are like, what is he saying? And there's other people I know on this call that have tried to find a note and have pulled out their hair trying to figure out what contact was talking about this. What was that? Who was that I was talking to about this? So now what you can do is in your search bar, you can just search for a word or words that were in that note. So I had a meeting with a contact. I left lots of meeting notes and I forgot who I was talking to about that with. Now I can go to my search bar, type in what I know I put in my notes and get that to surface. The other use case for this that's great is, maybe you've got a customer service team or something like that, and you want to know all the people that mentioned a specific feature. So you can pull up all of the notes that have maybe that word in it. So like the example here with analytics. Google enhanced conversions. So this is one of the ways that HubSpot is kind of responding to this disappearing of cookies as a way to track people across properties on the web. And so what this allows you to do is add enhanced conversions, just a conversion type inside of Google Ads. And what it allows you to do is turn form submissions into an enhanced conversion for Google Ads. And so it sends that data back to Google in a very privacy safe way. So it's encrypted and all those things. So it's meeting all of those privacy standards that are increasingly more strict across the globe. So you create an event in the ads tool, you select this form submission, the couple additional steps that you have to go through that the tool will walk you through if this is the first time you're doing it. There is a knowledge base article and a video that HubSpot has created. So if this is something that you need, then I would encourage you to go check those out. But it's going to help you do a few things. So one, eventually this is going to be the only way that Google knows somebody's submitted a form. We're not there yet, but this is kind of a good way to take those first steps in that direction. But there are probably some form submissions right now that Google doesn't know about that are getting missed for whatever reason, if somebody's blocking cookies or something like that on their browser. So this is a way to kind of fill in those gaps already today. New default system pages. So system pages are those pages that are kind of the boring pages on our website. So somebody tries to go to a page that doesn't exist, they get a 404 error. Somebody wants to unsubscribe from our newsletter, or they want to manage their subscription preferences, or maybe we're using the customer portal in Service Hub and somebody's creating a password or logging in. So all of those pages that people do that on are on system pages. And you can customize them and download a theme that has custom ones and all of that, which is great. But maybe you're not there yet, or maybe you don't want to do all of that, or maybe there's just not that many people hitting your system pages. So how HubSpot did it in the past is they had some defaults available for you, and they were kind of meh. Like they were over designed, they looked old. And so what HubSpot has done is they've refreshed those pages. And so they're very, very simple, which I think is great because the chances of it really conflicting with your brand aren't as high when they're really simple. So we can see on the screen here some screenshots, and that's the other change, right? So they've allowed us to more simply select what template we want to use for those pages. So we're using the default, we're using something from our theme, and then see a nice screenshots. And from actions, you can hit preview and preview that in full screen and on a mobile device. So a little bit easier way to manage those pages and better looking defaults that are less likely to conflict with your brand. Another update is meeting rotations in CRM scheduling. So we talked the last month or the month before about the update where I can go in now into a contact record and I can schedule a meeting between that contact record and another rep from my company. So maybe I have an SDR scheduling appointments for AEs, for example. But we had to, in the past, we had to pick the rep that we wanted to schedule. Small team, great. Big team, maybe not. So now what the update is we can have this rotate based on round robin. So you select your meeting rotations and it'll then populate which rep it recommends that you schedule with. But the nice thing is you can override that. So if the recommended rep doesn't have availability, we can see their availability on the calendar here. If the rep doesn't have the right availability or doesn't have availability that works with the prospect, then we can go to the next one in the list. And so it's a great way to kind of make sure that those meetings are being spread fairly, but that you still have the control to get the meeting scheduled at the time that the prospect wants to get that scheduled in. And the big one. So I don't know how many of you have had this. I have certainly done this where I sent an email and I'm like, dang it, I did not log it to, I didn't track it in HubSpot, or I didn't log it to the right record. I wanted to get that attached to the deal. And then, if you attach the wrong record, you had to go into HubSpot and update the associations, or if you didn't track it at all, the only real hope that you had for tracking was hopefully they replied to this and I can track that reply, right? Now HubSpot has made it much more simpler to do all of that. And so it's very, very simple. It's available in both the Google email extension and the Outlook 365. It's only on the web version. So if you're using Outlook on desktop, this isn't available at least yet. But what it allows you to do is go into an email that's in your outbox. So an email you've already sent. And what you'll see when you open one of those emails, if you didn't track it in HubSpot, is you'll see exactly what you see on screen here. So it was untracked. But we've got this drop down to log email to HubSpot, and you can select the records. It's going to identify some records that it thinks are going to be handy based on the email that you sent, the email address that you sent to, but you can search for any record and associate it there and save it. And that way, if a rep or yourself forgets to track an email, now we can go back and do that. All right, so that's all the updates for this webinar. So next steps. So the first next step that I'm highly going to encourage you to do is check out our next webinar on August 16th about webinars. How meta is that? So I know if you've liked these webinars, or if you've done webinars for your company, or you want to do webinars for your company, there are quite a few steps to make a webinar go smoothly. And I don't mean just the experience you have on camera. I mean getting prospects invites to the webinar, getting them to sign up, getting the people that sign up to show up, getting the right follow-ups done, making sure all those people are tracked so you can report on that in HubSpot, but making sure they get all the Zoom links and all that. Like, there's a lot of pieces. So Ali is going to break all that down for us, show us how to do that in the easiest way, the most efficient way, and in the way that's going to drive maximum signups and maximum attendance. So highly encourage you to sign up for that. Simplestrat.com/webinars. I believe, speaking of webinar setup, I believe we have this one set up so that when you actually exit out of this one, you'll actually be taken to that page if you want to register. And then for the updates we talked about today, highly encourage you to identify 1 to 2 updates that you could really benefit your team. If you want our help with that, you can book a consultation, simplestrat.com/consult. If you want to do it yourself, you can certainly do that. I encourage you to research the update a little bit more, get the details about it in the HubSpot knowledge base and or the product updates section. So in the drop down, click on your company name, click on product updates. All those updates will be listed there for you. And then enroll in any necessary betas. and implement and make sure we measure the impact, because none of this is worth it if it doesn't actually create an impact, whether that's increased efficiency, more leads, whatever impact you're looking for. Make sure that it's doing the thing that you want it to do. And with that, I will turn it back over to Alexis for any questions.